Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Don, and today we are going to be discussing what social workers hate about the profession. So the first thing is we are under promoted. There are so many people who do not know what a social worker is, who do not know what a social worker does, and I really hate how we are promoted and portrayed in the media. There's still a huge misconception about what we do. There's still stigmas and stereotypes being promoted in mainstream media when in fact social workers are the largest mental health providers. So if you go to a mental health therapist, chances are they will have their master of social work. I understand that many people don't know what a social worker is, but that's still no excuse for portraying us wrong. And that leads me to my second point, which is we are often overlooked for positions because people don't know who we are. I look at so many different positions that I could do, but instead of requiring a clinical license in your master of social work, typically those positions require maybe a MBA in some cases, but in most cases I see nurses, and I love me some nurses, but nurses are being preferred over social workers for managing social workers in healthcare settings, as well as many other positions, whereas case management and things of that nature, where a social worker would be ideal for that role. I will say that sometimes we are chosen, but if we are chosen, we are paid lower, which leads me to my third point, which is we are often overworked and underpaid. Yes, I remember being in grad school, thinking that I would make 50K upon graduation, and my professors and everyone really thought that was a joke. I think that we have a lot of work to do in the profession to help. I don't know what's going on with my voice. Like, this just started. Like, it sounds like I have a frog in my throat. But I also know that my son is asleep, and so I am speaking lower than maybe I would traditionally speak. We do very complex and specific work in multiple settings. I believe the phrase we're not in it for the income, we're in it for the outcome needs to be laid to rest. I think that is the worst phrase that we can have in a profession. I think we need to be in it for the income and the outcome. Our quality of life impacts our patients' and clients' quality of life. If we are not satisfied when we enter work, that's going to impact our performance. That's going to impact our longevity at a position. That's going to impact so many different things. It's going to impact our disposition at work and our health. We are going to be unhealthy if we aren't making a livable wage, a wage that's more than livable, but one that we could live a lifestyle that we deserve to live and be able, in many of our cases, pay off student loans that we accrued from obtaining the degree itself. Honestly, I think that this phrase, we're not in it for the income, we're in it for the outcome, is a coping mechanism to be okay with being underpaid. But no, it's not a way of living. It's something I have not adhered to my entire time in the profession, and that's given me a lot of pushback. It's impacted how long I stay at a position, and I'm okay with that. My fourth point is that we are given limited resources. We are experts in locating and connecting our clients and patients to community resources, but we are given limited resources to do our actual jobs, whether that's no CEU support or additional certifications and licensure trainings or subscriptions to scholarly articles. All of those things, it makes it hard to do our job, especially when there's limited resources and you have someone who's trying to do the right thing, trying to make it, and there's still limited resources for them. My fifth point is We are underappreciated. I hate that. I felt so underappreciated in so many of my roles. It's so sad. And I think that it's important to make sure that we feel appreciated each and every time we are, spoken to. We shouldn't have to only hear areas of improvement and areas of growth, but we should receive appraisals. We should receive, you know, gratitudes, rewards, all of those different things for the great work that we do and all of the things that we give right. I mean, I think for every, one thing that you may even see, we are doing 10 things behind the scenes that you may never see, you may never know about. And so I think it's important to express and show gratitude to social workers. And before I go to point number 6, I think it's important to mention we are not compensated for going above and beyond. I can't tell you how many times I've stayed, after hours, especially if someone had a crisis. There were days I didn't go home until, you know, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, and still had to be right back at work the next morning. So I think, or, there's something happening on the weekend and there's a weekend call. So I think there's so many things that is lacking in the profession. And, it's not all on NASW. I think a lot of it is on really employers and them doing the work to recognize the importance of social workers and really stepping up to the plate to make sure that they are showing the utmost appreciation for us. Okay, y'all, so my 6th point is the fact that we have to maintain CEUs. Now, I understand that, we need to continue to grow, but that's really a business. These courses are not free. Continuing education units are not free. I am actually a speaker and a CEU provider, which I'm so happy about, so honored to do, but still it's not cheap. And yeah, organizations may provide some, they may provide some in-house ones, but when they don't, it's on us to get it. And not just that, but like renewing our licensure. And as someone who has 2 licenses, having to have my license transferred from one state to another. I let my Illinois license lapse because I wasn't here at the time, and having to get that reinstated and paying, I think, $110. So there's so many different expenses that comes with the profession that, again, is always going to go back to the salary of making sure that we have the money to actually maintain our licensure. Because conferences, I think membership for NASW to get discounts, like once you're in, I was just looking at, I think it's like over $250. And then we have to have malpractice insurance. There's so many different expenses, and that's hard, that's challenging. And so I think it's important to, make sure that we're able to do that. So, and I think, to me, I think if you're licensed in one state, it should just count for every state. But that's just me. There's many professions who does that. I think it's considered reciprocity. Again, nurses have that. Oh, and don't get me started on conferences. Paying for a conference, even if you're a presenter, it still costs you money. You may get a discount, but you're still paying money to attend that conference. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I present at conferences. I've presented at 4 conferences because I cannot, and I don't want to say I can afford it, but like, I just wouldn't be willing to pay for it. Like, I'm not willing to pay $300, $400, $500 for a conference. I mean, you have to invest in yourself, yes, but I think if you're working for someone, I think that's a perk that they can provide. If you're working for yourself, then you gotta pay it. But I do think that is expensive, and so many people aren't able to do that. And so it limits, the type of CEUs they can get. If you're in hospice social work, you may want a lot of your CEUs to be centered around hospice and bereavement and, advanced directives and, ethics around euthanasia and things of that nature. So if you can't afford those, then you may have to settle for the free ones. And I don't think that's cool. The last two, number 7 will be mislabeling. So many people say that they're a social worker and they're not. I was just reading this post that a friend sent me today of people who don't even have their degree in social work saying that they're a social worker. And it's like, no, 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 you cannot do that. You are not a social worker, okay? In many states, it's required that you have your license to even say that you're a social worker. So anyway, another story for another time, but it's just hard because when you are being mistaken and then something happens in the news, then it's like, ooh, okay. I also think it's a respect thing. I mean, we go through, 2 years of graduate education. We sit for a state licensing exam that and we maintain our licensures through continuing education units. That's a lot of money, time, investment into a profession. So I think it undermines it when people are just saying that they're this or they're that and they're not. And we do so much in addition to that. We supervise, we train, we adhere to a code of ethics. So there's just so many things that we do. So please, if you're not a social worker, don't say that you are, okay? Don't. Now the last one is an emerging trend, but it shouldn't offend anyone if you are not, a contributing member of this. But a lot of people hate how colonized the profession is. We work with a wide variety of clients from unique and beautiful backgrounds, and unfortunately our what's called evidence-based practices are really geared and centered for white clients and patients, and it's often more likely than not created by white therapists, white social workers. And so it's been colonized, and so there is a trend to decolonize social work. I know I personally had an experience in grad school where I was told that everyone's experiences are the same when everyone's experiences are not the same. And I recently reached out to that professor and shared how that statement impacted me and how it wasn't okay. And that professor responded with so much love, so much kindness, and really took accountability. They did not over apologize, they didn't victimize themselves, and they took responsibility. And I just absolutely love that. And it confirmed the relationship that we had, because we had a good relationship, it just was a shortcoming. So I think that's like a huge one, especially as the field's increasing with more Black, Indigenous, people of color entering the social work profession. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and comment in the comment section below. If there are any concerns that you have about the profession, I'd love to talk them out with you. And of course, I am accepting clients, and I am now accepting clinical supervisees. So if you are preparing for your licensure, then I'd love to help you in your social work journey. Thanks so much for watching, and until I see you next time, be you, be great.